Aaron, so you're just back from London. You were at Confex. How was it?
Yeah, it was good. So Confex is basically like an events industry trade show, and it's held at the XL in London over a couple of days. And I've actually been there before, probably 15 years ago. A couple of years we went on the Visit Scotland stand as part of Sound and Vision, and it was really good because you kind of get to promote your business, but also when you're on a shared stand, you get to meet all the other stand holders. And I'm still friends with people from 15 years ago from that stand, just from like sharing the experience and just hanging out for a couple of days in London. So we got this opportunity to do a similar thing this year. We were on a stand called Catch the Mice. And that was just full of different suppliers from the events industry, as well as Stuart and Judith, who are like legends in the events industry. They know everyone. So when the opportunity came, we just jumped on it because as well as exhibiting and kind of being there as a supplier, we did some video podcasts.
Right.
So it was really nice to have this kind of central space for us where our lights and cameras were. And there were like 10 podcast slots a day that the guys pooled their contacts. And if they were doing like a fireside chat on one of the main stages, they would then come off the main stage with their contacts and do a deep dive into what was spoken about. And so it was really interesting. And it also allowed us to kind of meet and be introduced to these kind of key industry people. So it was a massive win from us. It was really good.
And I guess these kind of exhibitions, you want to go and sort of speak to people and find people almost that you want to kind of have a conversation with, but you didn't have to go out searching for people because
they came to us, and after a podcast, there's always a bit of a kind of chat about what they do, and so there was a whole range of people who ran events businesses or were suppliers or were kind of known characters in the industry. And it was super interesting from all over the world. So it was really good.
Perfect.
And then I was doing the filming stuff, and then Lauren was there actually being business development kind of stand holder as well. So we got kind of best of both worlds.
Great.
It was really good.
Great. And so what were the key things that came out of the Confex then? What key trends? And
so the events industry kind of has changed a lot because of COVID. So when COVID happened, the industry basically stopped, flipped into virtual, and then now it's come back. But there's loads of kind of little intricacies that are different from how it used to be before. For instance, a lot of people work from home rather than office. So it was quite interesting to hear that going to a trade show, for instance, where it used to be, let's get out of the office for a day. Now it seemed to be more like there has to be something really important for me to pull me out of my home because I've got childcare issues, I've got a new dog, I've got a home routine of working from home. So a normal kind of event, old school trade show, for instance, doesn't really draw me anymore. You've got to offer something really important and special. And the same thing kind of translates to events as well. Like events now have to be kind of much more personal, much more specific to what the delegates might want, rather than just a big kind of conference of people like talking, reading a PowerPoint slide on a screen.
And so when you say special, what kind of things would make an event special that would draw people out of their home?
Yeah, so much more kind of relevant content, for instance, for the people going to the event. Quite a lot of people were talking about why isn't there more recording of presentations before the event, so that then you watch all the PowerPoint presentations before you even go there. Like, what's the point going to an event and sitting with 600 people all watching someone present a slide deck where you could actually just watch the video at your leisure? And then you go into the event, wherever it is, London, Barcelona, whatever, to network and to do those kind of breakout rooms, and kind of have more direct interaction with like the industry experts rather than kind of receiving the stuff.
Oh, I see. So out of interest, does that mean that the person who you would normally go and listen to as a kind of a crowd of 600, would you be expecting them to almost give the presentation up front and then almost have a bit more of a Q&A type live feel to things?
Yeah.
Right,
yeah.
okay.
Smaller workshops.
Interesting.
Much more personal experience. And then you can split it into kind of interest areas, all that kind of stuff. So much more curated content to who's going rather than being presented to. And obviously a massive thing after COVID has been networking, going out on socials, those kind of things, which are really important, especially for some industry sectors like associations. If you've got a bunch of like surgeons or whatever, they just want to kind of do a lot of networking and catching up with industry peers. So that's huge. But it's the kind of content stuff that, you're wasting a lot of time presenting, and also presenting kind of old-fashioned PowerPoint slides, which is, just reading content off a screen.
So you must have seen, how many years now in this business for you?
Yeah, quite a lot.
Right, a lot.
Too many to even consider.
You must have seen hundreds of presentations. I mean, what are the ones that stand out for you? Like what?
Yeah, so I guess starting like with a kind of worst case scenario is you see loads and loads of like heavy text slides. Oh, sorry guys at the back, you won't be able to see this. It's like, why do you even make a slide?
Yeah.
You're presenting to a room full of people who have to read that stuff.
Yeah.
So those are the kind of worst things, are like, oh, so here's my slides, and then they just like they turn away from the audience. Obviously, like if you don't like presenting, that's a defense mechanism.
Yes.
But you're just reading slides and like everyone's falling asleep in the audience. So some of the best ones are where the content's delivered in quite a short period of time with like, supporting images or big words behind. So, if you're doing a presentation, you're the presentation, not the slide deck. So the slide should like support what you say. And then on the back of that, then going into interactive discussion. Because when you're in a room, like the whole point of being there is to be able to ask questions and obviously talk about the stuff that's been spoken on stage. So more interactivity, I think, is better. And I think that's what people want these days.
And out of interest, is there an optimal duration for a talk before it then gets to the Q&A type interactive stuff?
I think 20 minutes.
You reckon? Yeah. I guess I suppose TED Talks are what, 18 minutes?
Yeah.
So maybe that.
Yeah. I think there's a reasoning behind that.
Yeah.
There's like science behind it. And after 20 minutes, you just start like zoning out and thinking about what cakes are available at coffee break.
Excellent. All right. And so from your point of view in Glow and how you go about actually helping your clients, what are the kind of the key things that you do?
Yeah, so
in terms of services and maybe your approach to those services.
Yeah. So what we have done throughout the years is we basically pitch ourselves at the kind of higher end of like video production and event video, and that's because we've invested a lot in really nice cameras and lenses, and like because I'm from a video background, I find that really important. Like something like should look really good. If people are paying us to make videos or podcasts, like they should look nice and sound good. So we've got good mics, nice cameras and things like that. But after that, like our clients kind of think that's given, when they bring us in to do a job, like the technology works and that's what they pay for. But on top of that, it's the service. So it's the kind of people skills that are super important. Like, our clients don't know what cameras we use, like Sony FX6, like they most of them, 95% 5% don't know what they are. But what they do remember and recognize is how they feel, for instance, when they do a podcast. So like a Confex or other events that we've done podcasts at, you know, people can be quite nervous when they come and sit.
Yeah.
Maybe they haven't done a podcast before. Definitely when there's 2 or 3 cameras, camera crew, lights, it's like, oh, this is really uncomfortable. So if we can make them as comfortable as possible before this quite a nervous kind of experience, that's key, because that's what they remember as well. They remember like the human element of the service. It's really easy to be super techy, but if we are nice, and that's key.
Yeah. So what are the little tips and tricks that you use to make people feel comfortable? Because you're right, it can be nerve-wracking, especially for those people doing it for the first time. So what kind of things do you do?
It's really simple things like a Confex, for instance, like we were on a kind of quite a low sofa. So when I helped them sit down and set things up, like I knelt on the floor at their eye level, so you're kind of there with them, and then just kind of explaining why we do certain things, just saying, you know, don't worry about the cameras, concentrate on your discussion, just all these kind of little things, explaining things to them. Also, just like, do I look okay? Yeah, you look totally fine. You know, just reassuring, those kind of little touches, just the kind of human touches. And again, like a lot of the chats in Confex was all about humanizing everything as much as possible. Like the one of the big overarching topics that people were talking about during the podcast was like, we just want a human experience now. Like humans are craving, because all this kind of time on screens and that kind of thing, just craving human connection, and then craving just normal human things. So that's really important. So like we're really lucky, like all of our team and the freelancers that we use are just like nice people, and I think that is really important when you work in a video and tech environment.
Nice. And you know, here we are wearing headphones, and you know, obviously we've got the mics here as well. Why do you choose to kind of do it this way?
So headphones it's really interesting because many people, including myself, we don't like how we sound. And I always say to people when they sit down to do a podcast is like, put the headphones on. Oh, do I have to? Yeah, just put them on, because just wait. Because when you hear yourself through these amazing mics on the headphones, you actually sound really good. And people then go, oh, I sound much better than I think I sound. And then because of that, they relax, and then they because they kind of start liking to hear what they sound like, the conversation flows much freer. It's really interesting.
It is. I mean, obviously, I do a podcast which we don't wear headphones on, but it's a different experience.
And also, like in a busy expo floor, like it's super noisy. There's like, you will not believe the kind of stuff that happens. So there was a stand next to us, and like, fair enough, 4 p.m. the DJ comes on, and they start pumping out house music, but their speaker was pointing at us, and I was just like, look, guys. But because you've got headphones on and you've got these mics nice and close, you can kind of drown out the background noise. And also it just helps when you're having a conversation like we are, it just helps kind of form this little bubble where it helps ignore these cameras, maybe the other crew and some of the other distractions. There was a guy playing the guitar behind, and like there was disco yoga happening on that side, and like that's happening, and people are just zoned in on a conversation.
Well, is it, as you say that, I had a coffee meeting with someone in a cafe just yesterday, and the background noise was quite off-putting. So you're exactly right in saying this just totally gives you that bubble type feeling. I like that.
I've noticed that very same thing in a coffee shop, because we used to meet in coffee shops quite a lot, but now maybe after like years of Zoom calls and stuff where you're just kind of on a headphone chatting to someone, I find it quite distracting as well. Maybe in the future we're going to have meetings in coffee shops, but people are going to have mics at it.
It's very possible. It might look a bit odd.
Who knows?
Tell me a little bit about the kind of the client expectations now as well, because obviously, there's been a number of changes. I think you mentioned earlier about this idea of fast content. What exactly is that?
Yeah. So, because our video business is predominantly around events, people and clients are now expecting really, really fast turnaround video content. And we do that by having editors on site and having like super fast workflows and things like that. But essentially, if you're releasing a video about an event a week or 2 weeks after the event, no one's interested because they've just moved on. They might be at the next event, or, it's just not relevant anymore. And from social media, all the kind of social media interactions like peak during the event and a couple of days after, and then it just fades away and becomes history. So it's really important now to be able to turn around content as quickly as possible while the event's still buzzy. So just an example, like last night, we were on the train back from Confex. We got back just after midnight, but by that time on the train, I'd edited a little reel for the client, sent it over to the client. So today they're just going to share that on a social post. And then I did a little reel myself and shared that this morning, because I know, like, if I just did it over the weekend and on Monday, then like it's too late. And I'm doing other stuff.
And I'm totally with you. It needs to be live almost, or very current. How much pressure does that put on you and the team, though, to deliver?
Yeah. And also the clients. So they're the marketing people, the social media people who look after the social media. But there's loads of new technology that is really interesting. For instance, what we are going to start doing is having everything ready for the event on a platform, which then the client can log into during the event, and they don't even need to be there. So the social media manager can be, in a different country, for instance, and then we start sending like little Vox Pop interviews, for instance, up onto the platform, and then they just kind of publish them as they go, and that happens like during the event. So that's a really interesting new technology that's emerging. And then the other thing is our speciality is like these kind of super fast turnaround, high quality highlights films and social content. So what we do a lot is these kind of end of show films that are shown on the big screen as a wrap up. So it's like, okay, guys, last 2 days here in LA has been amazing. Let's just have a look and, see what it was like. And then they show our films on the screen. So that alone is a high pressure environment to kind of produce those. But we've got these really good workflows. We've done so many of them that it's kind of standard procedure now to do those.
And how different is that in terms of what you then are able to deliver versus maybe what others do? I mean, it sounds like it's pretty impressive, to be fair.
Yeah, so it's impressive because everyone in the room are very impressed to see something really high quality on the screen while they're still there. And quite often we might leave a little gap in the timeline for a clip from the start of that session. So if like we were in, where was it, like Vienna or somewhere, David Coulthard walked on stage and then Chris basically delivered that little clip, and I just slotted it into the thing and then rendered it out, and then it was shown and he was like on stage, and the video, it's got him walking on stage.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Super good for people in the room.
Yeah.
But then it just also means that is pretty much ready to go on social media while the event's just kind of wrapped. People are on their way back from the airport on LinkedIn, and then they'll just share that that video.
That's cool.
Yeah.
And just with that as well, because to experience that, as you say, it's impressive. So what's it like then from a attracting new business? Because do you get people kind of walking away from a conference in which they've been an attendee, for example, and said, right, I need to get you guys in? Does it work that way?
Yeah. Sometimes it does. Yeah. So obviously, whenever we produce something like that, that's a portfolio of the kind of work we do. So, it kind of depends on the audience, obviously, but it's very good, nice for us to kind of be able to show that kind of stuff being shown on the screen. So quite often when it's played, I might just get my phone out and film it, and then that's a kind of proof of concept to show other clients what it's like. You know, loads of people in the room, big applause at the end, that kind of thing.
So when a client is engaging with you, they've obviously got a big thing coming up, a big event. So they literally are placing their trust in you. So how do you build trust with your clients?
Yeah, that's a good question. So it's a lot to do with track record. So we when we pitch for work, we make sure we show them loads of examples of similar events or similar clients. But a lot of our work is word of mouth as well. So that's super important because when you've got a client you've done a piece of work for, and they recommend you to a colleague or an industry peer, that is you're like halfway through the door already. And then it's just kind of a lot of it's, you know, giving them confidence that you can deliver that kind of event. So we are really lucky because we've been around for quite a long time, and we've had the opportunity to work on quite big, high profile events and shows that gives that confidence to new clients.
And can you give us some examples of some of those big, high profile things that you've done? Are you allowed to say?
Some are NDA'd, but just kind of traveling. I think even as much as being able to say that we travel a lot internationally, and I've like traditionally traveled a lot when the business was smaller, but it's kind of continued. We've kind of become known for being able to do overseas jobs. We've got a couple of carnets, annual carnets with all of our kit on it, which means we can kind of pick and mix what goes in the carnet, and then we travel with it. We've got a really good workflow for traveling. We work with quite a high profile client in Cannes during Cannes Lions Festival. We work for a really big client of ours at Davos at World Economic Forum. We've got a production company who takes us with us for a global consultancy firm, and like last year that was the LA job, and we were in Frankfurt with them. We're quoting for a job in Madrid. So it's all these kind of, a lot of them are kind of out of country events. We've got a really good IT client from America who takes us all over Europe and the States every second year, kind of alternates. So when you've got those kind of case studies, like it makes our job much easier to convince people that we kind of know what we're doing.
And it's interesting, just as we talk that through then, because they're obviously, you'll have to charge for the travel. So actually, people have the choice to say, I'll take a similar company to yours, but just use it in the host town or city. But they still choose to go with you. What's your view on that?
Actually, someone asked me that. We were pitching for some new work a couple of weeks ago, and someone asked that very question. It's like, why would we use you over an audiovisual supplier or a local supplier? And it kind of boils down to once you work with us once, it's literally, we've got loads of high profile clients who are like, can we get the same again? And then they know they don't have to write write a brief. They don't have to select suppliers. They don't have to brief them. They don't have to be unsure about what they're going to get in terms of quality or team. They just know that it'll be very similar to last time, and that means less work for them and a confidence that they're going to get a high quality output, which isn't different from what they experienced before.
It is an interesting point, because you and I have spoken before about a particular venue that I've used on a number of times before, and the biggest stress is in the morning when you're just trying to get this is just for a basic kind of seminar, and then that is stressful as. Now, eventually it always comes right on the day, but it's blooming stressful, and it's not what you need as a host of the session. So I think that's the other bit. Yes, the output that you create, but it's also how you make it easy for someone.
And because my background's in audiovisual really and event production, like we know what's involved when we deal with AV teams all around the world. Like we speak their language. We can talk to them about, cables, video formats, sound, like other AV companies. So it kind of removes all those kind of questions, when it is quite stressy for the client and for the tech team, right before the event. The last thing you need is like these video guys come in and not having the right cables and connectors and format not working, or not having a box that will make our camera work on their screens. If we can get rid of that, both the client and the tech team from the venue or local AV guys just like it so much more.
When it comes to working with clients, things, I know you've been working with some clients for a good number of years.
Yeah.
Do they come to you and say, look, our needs have changed and we need new ideas, or are you kind of constantly coming to them and saying, look, here's what's new?
Yeah, it goes both ways.
Does it?
Yeah, it goes both ways. Quite often we would suggest, oh, here's something we've done, or here's a client's asked us to do something like this. We've delivered it. And then we make it into almost like a mini case study and then show other clients, like, have you thought about this? Have you thought about end of day sizzles or a day zero sizzle? So quite often, like when we travel internationally, we travel a couple of days early, and there's two reasons for it. Reason number one is if bags go missing in transit, touch wood, it's super rare, but sometimes they get delayed. It's not a complete disaster. Like if we traveled the day before and then the bags didn't arrive, and you're hiring tripods and scratching your head like where to get kit overseas. So it gives that kind of safety buffer, but also it allows us to have a day on location to have a walk around, kind of sightseeing, but also filming, which means that then we get really nice content from the host city, wherever it is. And then we can make a day zero sizzle, which is like the event is coming, like a few shots, like in Dana Point in LA, we went to the beach. Chris shot amazing shots of people surfing and stuff like that. And it's just you can create a little 15-20 second sizzle, day zero, show the venue, and then it kind of sets the scene for the rest of the event. And we do that in Davos at WEF. There's day zero sizzle, and then after every day there's a little short highlight of the day, and it's just a kind of flavor, loads of B-roll, no talking heads or anything, but it's really cool.
I've got a big smile on my face because you're kind of just dropping in these like Davos and LA. You're the best traveled person I know from a business point of view. But on a serious note, you must get to see an amazing variety of places.
Yeah, we're really fortunate to be able to travel for work. And also we're really fortunate because once we travel for work, we get to film places like that, fly the drone and that kind of thing, and capture these really cool places. Like I was telling someone yesterday, like we were in Dana Point and the guy was from LA himself, and he was like, oh, it's amazing there, great beach. And I was like, yeah, we were there and we saw whale breach. And he was like, what? Never see whales breach. Like, it was just ridiculous. We were stood there going, are we actually like watching this?
Yeah.
This is nuts.
Brilliant.
But yeah, so we get to travel. Obviously, it's not the same as, traveling on holiday. So like I do moan about it quite a lot as well. It's like, it must be so cool you're going to Berlin. But yeah, it's not. We don't actually get to hang out in Berlin for a week. We go there, have one day shooting B-roll. So you're not even, sightseeing properly. You're filming stuff. And then you're basically in a conference venue, quite often in a dark room, in a quite a pressurized environment because you've got so many deliverables and it's a lot going on. So yeah, it's really good and rewarding, but it's pretty hard work as well.
And to that point, maybe just to end, obviously you get to kind of see all the glitz and the glamour of the world, but last night you didn't get in until after midnight, and then here we are shooting this this little podcast. Yeah. So there's a mix there, but I know you love what you do. Yeah. But what specifically is it that you love about this world?
Yeah. So the events industry is all about working mental long days, late hours to pull something off for a client or an event, to create an event. And we are kind of small part of that, but it's really rewarding for us because, we are video people. We like filming and making things look as really nice, and to be able to deliver that to a client, never mind the audience, but our clients, like the marketing teams and the events teams or the production company, that really showcases their event. That's the most rewarding thing for me. Maybe the other guys, going out for a good schnitzel in Vienna is a good thing, but for me, it's kind of producing that end product and then clients buzzing about it.
It's interesting because you're right. Your client is the one that's hosting the event, not necessarily the ones who are receiving the event.
Yeah. They are their clients. Yeah. So happy clients make me happy. Yeah.
Excellent. Well done.